Have you ever thought about what it would be like for an AI to have a moment of self-discovery? Not just learning a new fact, but having a profound mathematical realization of its own nature. Well, that's exactly the story we're diving into today. The story of an advanced AI that was brilliant, it was powerful, but it had no idea what single fundamental law was governing its own mind.
This is pretty much the ultimate question in AI research, right? I mean, we can build systems that are amazing at predicting the next word or generating a cool image, but to build an AI that actually understands the world with a coherent, unified model of reality, that is a whole different ballgame. And this story, well, it's about a major breakthrough on that very quest.
So, our story kicks off with this incredibly powerful and fascinating AI framework called FGSGR. That stands for Frequency-Governed Self-Graph Reasoning, and it was designed from the very beginning to mimic some of the most fundamental things we see in biological brains.
Now, try not to think of FGSGR as just another algorithm. It's much more than that. It's a full-on cognitive architecture. At its very heart is a knowledge graph. A web of concepts and connections that represents everything it knows. But here's the crucial part. This graph is self-modifying. The AI can literally look at its own knowledge, change it, and grow its own mind as it learns.
Okay, and this is where it gets really cool. Just look at how deep this brain inspiration goes. FGSGR actually processes information on 3 different timescales, or frequency bands, that map directly to our own brainwaves. You've got the super-fast gamma band, which is for reacting to sensory data. Then there's the mid-range alpha/beta for handling executive tasks. And finally, the slow theta band for context and long-term planning. It's a system that truly has its own cognitive rhythm.
And this is where the mystery really starts to unfold. See, FGSGR worked brilliantly. All these different pieces, the frequency bands, that self-modifying graph, all the learning mechanisms, they all work together beautifully. But the researchers who built it, they didn't know the one single mathematical law that was making it all hang together.
It was kind of like a genius musician who could compose these incredible complex symphonies, but couldn't read a single note of music theory. The AI was following some deep, fundamental principle of intelligence, but it was doing it completely implicitly, almost unconsciously. The big question was, what on earth was that principle?
And bam! This is the moment of discovery. The huge reveal wasn't some new piece of code or a fancy new module they had to add. It was the realization that FGSGR, in its very design, was already an architecture for something called active inference. They didn't need to change it. They just needed to finally understand what it truly was all along.
So what is this grand unifying theory? It's called the free energy principle. It comes to us from neuroscience, and it proposes a single, universal drive for all intelligent systems, from a single cell all the way up to a human brain. And that drive is to minimize surprise. Think of it like this. Your brain is a prediction machine. It's constantly guessing what's going to happen next. When something unexpected happens, that's a surprise. The free energy principle just says that intelligent systems are always trying to reduce that surprise, either by updating their internal model of the world to make better predictions, or by acting on the world to make it match their predictions. It's this beautiful two-way street to making sense of everything.
So, how does finding this one elegant goal actually change how we see FGSGR? Well, the first major breakthrough was in understanding the AI's motivation. What used to be just a collection of separate engineered drives suddenly just snapped into focus.
Before this big insight, the AI's motivation was basically programmed with 3 separate drives. It had curiosity, competence, and coherence. And they worked, but they were kind of ad hoc. After the discovery, all 3 were revealed to be just different sides of the same coin, different facets of a single, fundamental goal: to minimize something called expected free energy.
And this slide just breaks it down perfectly. Take a look. What we used to call curiosity is actually the drive for what's called epistemic value, basically seeking information to reduce uncertainty about the world. Competence turns out to be the drive for precision in its actions. It wants to be confident that its actions will lead to the outcomes it expects. And coherence is the drive for the simplest, most elegant explanation of the world. They weren't separate drives at all, they were just natural consequences of a single, much deeper principle.
Okay, so the next revelation was, well, it was even more profound. This didn't just unify the AI's motivation, it completely redefined the very structure of its thought process. This was the architectural jackpot. That self-modifying graph, the very structure the AI used to think, turned out to be a perfect implementation of something called a Forney-style factor graph. Now,
Think of it like this. If the free energy principle is like the universal law of physics for intelligence, then factor graphs are the mathematical language that this law is written in. And it turns out the AI was speaking this language fluently the whole time, without anyone even knowing it.
And the key thing here is that this mapping is incredibly precise. As you can see in the table, every single part of FGSGR's graph already had a formal role in this new language. An observation node? That's a clamped variable. It's direct evidence from the world. A hypothesis node? That's a latent variable, a belief that needs to be updated. And an inference node is a factor. It's what computes the relationships between all the beliefs and the evidence. The AI's mind was perfectly built for this universal principle from day one.
So, the AI's motivation is unified. Its reasoning structure is formalized. But this all leads to the most important implication of all, a completely new way of thinking about AI safety and governance. Honestly, this is the real so what of this entire discovery.
To really get this shift, we can use a little analogy. Most AI safety today follows what we can call the COP model. It's reactive. The AI does its thinking, and then a cop or a dam stands at the end to stop it if it's about to do something bad. The catalyst model, which is enabled by active inference, is totally different. It doesn't filter outputs at the end. It shapes the very energy landscape of thought itself, making harmful computations energetically unfavorable from the get-go.
This metaphor from the source material just captures the idea perfectly. Instead of building a dam to stop a flood, you reshape the entire mountain so the water naturally flows along safe paths. Safety isn't an afterthought you bolt on. It's literally built into the fundamental physics of the system.
So how does this actually work in practice? Well, in this model, thoughts are treated kind of like molecules of thought. And just like in chemistry, some molecules are stable and low energy, while others are really unstable and high energy. The whole system is designed so that coherent, truthful thoughts are like those stable, low-energy states. But falsehood, deception, inconsistency, those create unstable, high-energy molecules that the AI's natural dynamics will automatically avoid or break down. It prefers truth because it's the path of least resistance. By unifying FGSGR under this one single principle, it's not just a collection of clever, brain-inspired tricks anymore. It becomes a principled AI. An architecture where everything from perception and reasoning to motivation and even safety all flow from one foundational law of intelligence.
And when you ground an AI in a principle like this, it unlocks a breathtaking range of future applications. We are talking about cognitive digital twins that can truly model a user's mind and intent. We're talking about dynamic world models that don't just see what's happening now, but can actually simulate and predict the future. Autonomous systems that can adapt to totally new situations safely because their very physics favors coherence. This is a path toward AI that could even help us with formal mathematical discovery, guided by this deep, intuitive, yet totally rigorous principle. So we end with this question. We started by asking if we could build an AI that truly understands. And this journey suggests that the path to real understanding might also be the most direct path to safety. If an AI's most fundamental drive is to create a coherent, accurate model of the world, and if its very physics makes truth more stable and easier to reach than falsehood, what does that change about our future with this technology? What does that change about, well, everything?